Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content that may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents. We're your hosts, Lucy,
Kenyon,
and Amanda.
Today's topic is arson.
Oh, yeah. So hot.
Hot topic.
So hot.
Hot topic.
Hot topic. Hot mic.
Before we get too lit, Amanda, what are we drinking?
Oh my God. I'm still recovering from how terrible that joke was, but I've got it together. This crime pairing was actually suggested to me this week by Dan Larson. What up, Dan?
Propose Dan.
Hashtag propose Dan.
Oh, good God. Dan used to work at a liquor store and remembered a wine called De Fuego, which translates to of fire. This is a Garnacha de Fuego. It's a 2009. It's a full-bodied Spanish red out of Calatayud, Spain. And it was chosen this week not only for its name, De Fuego, meaning of fire, but also for that classic Garnacha black pepper kind of note that you get from this wine. Kind of peppery, kind of fiery. Garnacha grapes are the second most planted red wine grape variety in Spain. They're planted kind of all over the country, but they're most notably found in the northern and eastern part of Spain. And this same varietal is also grown in the US and France. In France, it's known as Grenache. It's a pretty common grape. You're going to drink it pretty much all the time. Out of this particular bottle, you're going to get notes of intense dark fruit, plum, cherry, all that yummy stuff. And it's pretty perfect with what I liked to see, red meats and strong cheeses, two of my favorite things.
The stinkier the better.
Right, always. Also, today I learned that if you go on the Total Wine website, you can order things for in-store pickup.
Oh, hell yeah. Mom, did you hear that?
Yeah, seriously. So that's the crime pairing with a shout out to not only Dan, but the awesome folks at Total Wine. Go online, pick your wine, go pick it up.
Hell yeah.
Amanda, you spoke about that Grenache with panache.
Oh!
I was saving it.
Ba-doom!
Yeah, you were
get
waiting.
like minimum 3 rim shots per episode. Not to be confused with rim jobs.
No.
That's where I went.
I actually already opened this bottle before we started recording, so we're good to go. I already have my glass.
I'm having my first sip of alcohol in a month because I've been sick. And I'm finally feeling like a human again, so decided to wreck my body. Here we go.
Let's do it. Kick it off with that first crime.
We're actually going to start with some more background instead of a crime. So, a couple things to know about arson, just plain old regular boring arson. It's a Class A felony. There are different degrees, just like with other felonies. So first degree is burning burning an occupied structure. So the first degree is the worst, right?
/ best.
The third degree, which is the least severe, is burning an abandoned building or structure.
Okay, so pretty much everything we tried to do when, like, practicing witchcraft in middle school.
Yeah.
Pretty much. All of our sacrifices. Yeah.
Can I also point out the irony that these degrees are in reverse order than like burns? Like third degree.
Oh, yeah. I never even thought about that.
That's what tripped me up. Yes, you're so right. Okay.
So listeners, don't get confused.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Second degree is burning an unoccupied but, still usable structure. So burning a house or apartment building that no one's living in. Maybe a house still under construction or something like that.
Or they're out of town.
I don't know. I actually don't know.
Does occupied mean the people have to physically be in the building for it to be
Good
that
question.
level?
What about pets?
Yeah, I think if someone just generally lives there, it's considered occupied.
Okay.
Because
I rank pet over human pretty much in all ways of life. So
Who doesn't?
absolutely. Yeah.
calling that first degree.
Except for people that like have pet rats.
Yeah, pet rats are fucking
Hey,
creepy.
don't judge.
I used to have gerbils. That's way worse.
Oh god.
I
Were
had
you that
literal
kid that
lab
smelled
rats.
Like gerbils? Oh my god. Oh my god. Once Lucy, when I went to pick her up for ninth grade homecoming, you know, it was our first school dance. We'd all spent hours getting ready, trying to look good despite our braces.
Who's we?
Me. And my mom drives me in the minivan to go pick Lucy up, and she comes out of her house with her hair unbrushed and her dress like falling off one shoulder and her shoes in her hand and a mason jar with a live mouse in it. And she's like,
There
What?
were a couple of mice, and if you want to hear the backstory, I've got it ready. We had an infestation of mice in my house around that period of time, and they would die in the walls and they would smell really bad. And my dad put out glue traps, which are just inhumane. So I
Oh
made it
my
my
God.
mission to set up really elaborate live mouse traps, and I trapped them and put them outside, and I'm positive they went straight back in the house, but still is the thought.
You are the Mother Teresa of mice.
she spent her entire afternoon chasing mice instead of like brushing her hair.
I wasn't chasing. I was capturing them with a bed sheet.
Okay. Let's
right.
get back to to arson instead of rat wrangling Pied Piper.
Okay.
Okay.
So the worst, or the first degree, is burning a occupied structure or a school. So any type of
Oh,
school
kids.
is always going to be first degree.
People don't look kindly upon burning children,
Right?
usually.
Yeah.
Qualms.
So the vast majority of arsons, like 95%, are actually just once-offs motivated by a personal dispute or financial gain, so like insurance fraud.
Got it.
That is pretty boring, just those once-off arsons usually. Let's instead focus on serial arson, which is much
Yes.
more interesting. The difference between pyromania and serial arson is a little bit blurry, but I'm going to try to break it down for you. So pyromania, again, comes from the Greek word
Always
pyre.
Greek.
The Greeks, man, they invent everything.
Including necrophilia.
Right? Necrophilia, pyromania, they got all of the weird pathological shit down.
Democracy.
Kleptocracy, which is what we're moving towards. Pyromaniacs start fires to induce a feeling of euphoria. So it could be a sexual thrill, a type of sexual euphoria, or it could just be a sort of emotional bliss-like state.
I have so much, well, not so much, but my guy's got some of that firefucker shit going on. It's real creepy.
I think I'd be an arsonist just because I really like the smell of a burning match.
Oh my God, me too. I like
Smells really
wanna
good.
poop just for the excuse to light that in my bathroom. Which reminds me, Dan, pick up more matches on your way home from work, please.
A lot. Go
Like
to
a lot.
Costco.
I'm burning
Go.
through them.
Go to Sam's Club.
Ba-doom.
Pick up
How many rim shots
an
do we have now?
industrial box. So, for pyromaniacs, starting fires is a compulsion, and not surprisingly, they suffer from impulse control disorders. So they just can't stop themselves. And many of them often fixate on institutions of fire control, like fire departments or firefighters. Arson, on the other hand, is defined as the deliberate setting of fires for personal, monetary, political gain, or vengeance or malice. Almost all pyromaniacs are serial arsonists, but not all serial arsonists are pyromaniacs.
Okay, it's kind of like that whole all squares are a rectangle, but not all rectangles are squares, or is it the other way around? I was not paying attention in geometry at all.
I can't even answer that.
No.
I know, I'm
Okay,
so
listeners, show us your skills. Because we all took integrated math.
Math for people that don't like math. It's
Sorry about it.
Yeah, remedial. You forgot a word. It was remedial. Okay. There are several non-pathological motivations for arson. Number 1, destruction of evidence of other crimes that took place at that scene.
Oh, right. So if somebody wants to, like, cover up a murder, they think that they can, like, burn the area down to get rid of all the evidence, which is such bullshit.
Yep.
Watch forensic files, idiots.
Right.
That never works.
Yep. Amateur mistake.
Some less sexy versions of that would be starting a fire to destroy financial records if you've embezzled.
Lame. Yeah.
Or like broken some kind of financial law. Or to cover up a theft. So if you steal an item and then burn where that item is stored, you could say, oh, it was destroyed in the fire.
That would only work for certain things that you're stealing, though. Like if you stole someone's birth certificate. I don't know. I feel like that only works for paper theft.
Yeah, it's not going to work for like metal objects or
melt it down.
Or bone.
Goods.
Oh yeah, that's right, because fragments stick around.
Insurance fraud. Obvious. Next, revenge.
Oh, now we're getting into the good stuff.
Yeah.
What's really interesting about this one is that retaliation or revenge is more likely to be the cause for arson committed by young people.
Okay, so angsty kids.
Exactly. They're retaliating because they feel like they've been persecuted.
Okay. I can understand that.
This is fitting in so well with my crimes.
The most rare type is for suicide.
Yeah, that would be the worst way to kill yourself. The worst.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, why would you do that?
I think stabbing yourself in the stomach is maybe the worst.
Oh my God, a lady did that in a parking garage in Minneapolis like 5 years ago. Of course, in the same parking garage where I had parked for work downtown.
Oh, hell yeah.
And they blocked off the parking garage. They thought it was a murder, but then it turned out, unfortunately, she was on a lot of crack and she stabbed herself repeatedly in the stomach in the stairwell of this parking garage. And the police had to lock down the whole garage and they like escorted me to my car. And I was like, can you walk me right past the body? And they were like, no. No, we can't. And I was like,
Sneak peek?
Fine. No, I couldn't peek. They like ushered me through the skyway around. I couldn't go in the stairs at all. They like made sure I took the elevator.
You're on a list.
Yeah, I am on a list.
Yeah, you're definitely on a list.
Yeah, now that I think about it, nobody else got escorted to their car. Just kidding, they all did. But it was wild.
Okay, murder also, and terrorism is another cause of arson. For example, the burning of the Muslim religious center in Texas.
Oh, right. Yep.
Fuck white men, basically.
So I wonder...
Does bombing count? Does bombing count as arson?
I was just going to ask that, because could that be considered the incendiary device if it's a small bomb that's like with the intention of setting a fire? Maybe that's the differentiation there, or the distinction.
You know, I didn't see anything in my notes about incendiary devices. It was all more about just accelerants.
Oh,
like
my
gas
guy
or petrol.
uses an incendiary device.
I got some incendiary
so they
devices.
exist, but incendiary devices and bombs are different things. Unless I would assume you're crafting like a very small bomb that creates a controlled explosion with the intention of starting a fire. That would be my guess, but somebody can go ahead and email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com and let us know if that is true or that is false. Or tweet it, or Instagram it, or Facebook it. All the things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Serial arson is very similar in definition to serial killing. So the definition for serial arson is almost, virtually identical to serial killing. It's 3 or more fire-setting episodes instead of killings, with a characteristic emotional cooling off period between fires. So the arsonist is like,
Did you mean to
I
say
just
that?
gotta be single for a while.
Your cooling off period.
Oh, dad jokes run rampant throughout this podcast.
There are some rampage or spree arsonists For example, are either of you talking about Harry Burkhart?
No, but he did come up
Okay.
when I was, snooping around.
All I know about him is that when he was 24, he went on a total arsonist rampage in Hollywood.
Yep.
And lit fire to 50 occupied structures, so
No
50
way.
first-degree felonies, between the period of December 20th and January 2nd.
He ruined Christmas.
Oh my god. And New Year's.
And New Year's. What a dick.
Also, like serial killers, serial arsonists are divided into two subgroups,
Yes.
organized and disorganized.
That is me in every day of my life. I'm operating mostly in the disorganized subgroup, but
Well, that's it. You're a serial arsonist.
or killer.
The organized type use complex devices and intricate planning to elude capture.
Ooh, sexy.
Yeah, so they'll often use what's called forensic countermeasures, like pouring the accelerant not all over the place, but specifically only onto electrical outlets to try to create the appearance of an electrical fire.
Oh, that's clever, except for you can still find remnants of accelerant after burning.
Yeah.
Yeah. The disorganized type behave erratically and impulsively. They're most likely the pyros in the group. This can sometimes make them easier to catch, or it can actually baffle investigators because it's just super random.
So random, there's no pattern, yeah.
Right. Okay, profile. True serial arsonists are a very rare breed. Fewer than 5% of all arsons are categorized as serial arsons. Mm-hmm. Serial arsonists can technically come from both sexes, but only 12% are women, which, hey, still slightly more than necrophiliacs.
Yeah,
so,
beats that 8%.
Yeah,
Girl
progress.
power.
Show up, lady arsonist. Where you at?
Okay, there are some other consistent traits, so usually mental illness, and it's pretty pronounced. So they've possibly been institutionalized in the past.
Oh, wow.
They're pretty off their rockers, which is the technical term. They often suffer problems with substance abuse. They're likely to be highly intelligent, though underperformers at work or school.
Uh-oh. This is also sounding like me.
I know, I'm getting concerned.
Amanda's
Does falling
ticking off a
asleep
lot of
several
boxes.
times while trying to cook a frozen pizza make you a serial arsonist?
Oh my god. Once when I was studying abroad and I had this tiny apartment and I had just a hot plate.
Right.
I had just
Hot plate.
Hat plate, old gal.
I had like my spatulas and stuff and they were all like cheapy wooden IKEA, whatever. And I went and took a nap.
Yeah, of course you
Why
did.
were you that stupid?
I'm a big napper, guys.
Have I been
Big
awake for
napper.
3 hours? I need a nap.
So I took a nap and I woke up in my apartment. Apparently the fire alarm wasn't working.
Oh, yeah.
And the entire apartment was just jet black smoke.
Oh, my God.
The spatula had fallen onto the hot plate and had completely disintegrated except for like a half an inch.
That blows my mind. And yet, that
was
didn't
just ash.
that didn't start a fire, but like a drunk lady falling asleep with a lit cigarette will start a fire.
Interestingly, serial arsonists often have no violent criminal history, but they may often have convictions for other crimes such as burglary, theft, low-level sex crimes. But can we fucking agree that sex crimes should be considered violent crimes?
Yeah,
Hello?
for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
That's
Fucking
insane.
Patriarchy. Yeah.
Such bullshit.
Patriarchy!
Blast it.
They often display some sort of physical disability or defect, such as skin problems or birth defects. So they're self-conscious.
Oh, that makes me sad.
I think it just creeps me out more, to be honest. I'm a bad person.
This is fitting in so well with my crime. I cannot wait.
They usually have experienced some sort of childhood trauma or traumatic brain injury.
And or?
If you have just a real fucked life, both.
Yeah.
They're likely passive, non-confrontational, neat, fastidious. Many have gender identification issues. So they might be uncomfortable with their gender, uncomfortable with identifying as transgender, maybe effeminate men or masculine women, gender
Right, which is
binary,
never
okay, cool,
fucking
thanks.
accepted in society. So obviously these
Yeah.
people deal with a lot of shame and fear.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's not helping contribute to their condition as a serial arsonist. Why is the world
Yeah,
such
they-
a shitty place?
Yeah. They
hate
basically feel rejected on like a number of levels.
Right.
So who
They're
can
also-
really blame them?
Right.
Burn it down, boo. Burn it down.
I'm seeing a real theme in our stories so far. Like, I like him. You know, I really see his point.
Yeah, we agree often.
We're
with-
really easily swayed.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of these people's perspective.
I really do.
We should not serve on juries.
No. Oh, actually, this is the perfect way to get us out of jury duty. Just
I
hand our
already did.
podcast recordings over to a judge. Like, you don't
yeah.
want us.
I served on a jury last summer.
What?
I served on a jury last summer.
You did?
Yeah, it was a DUI case. I mean, I'm not
Whoa.
supposed to talk about it. Whatever.
But, I mean, obviously. Well, isn't it done now? Can't you talk about it after the fact, just not during the
Yeah.
trial?
The guy's probably out of prison by now, too. It was a while ago.
Sweet. Save it for another episode, and we'll change all
Yeah.
the names so he doesn't hunt you down and kill you for, I don't
Yeah.
know, putting him away.
He probably would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fine. Whatever.
Cool.
Serial arsonists are 30 to 40% more likely to be homosexual than the rest of the population.
Uh-oh.
Whoa,
How has my
weird.
house not been burned down yet? Because all my friends are the gays.
There's a common misconception that serial arsonists often use, there is incendiary devices, I didn't remember.
Aha.
Often use complex incendiary devices to delay the ignition of their fires.
Yep.
But this is a misconception. They actually prefer to set blazes with a simple match or cigarette lighter.
Right.
Old school. Most deaths by arson are actually accidental. So most serial arsonists are not trying to kill anyone. They just really want to see the fire.
Okay.
This is the part that I personally love the most and why I wanted to do this topic. Serial arsonists are among the type of criminals that are least likely to ever be rehabilitated.
Oh,
So it's like-
weird.
Yeah, psychologists say that, for a lot of other types of violent or very destructive crimes, with enough therapy, with medication, with,
Yep.
programs, you can get that person back into society for most people, but not with arsonists. There's just like a horrible track record
Wow.
of rehabilitating them.
That's weird. I wonder why.
It's got to be up there with murder. I mean, it's like a compulsive need.
Yeah, I think it ties in with a serial killing type thing.
Yeah.
They're very, very similar.
I
guess.
wonder if these things, in terms of if you could look at the brain of a serial killer, the brain of a serial arsonist, and then the brain of someone with like severe OCD who has to go through these rituals to get through their day. I wonder how many similarities you'd see between the activity on those brains.
I bet
That's
a lot.
interesting.
Because, obviously medication and some psychological treatment can help with OCD, but a lot of people with pretty severe OCD mostly just sort of learn how to be functional with it. It's not like it goes away.
Yeah,
they
they just
can't
cope.
cure it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting to find out. Listeners.
I don't know. Yeah, let us know. Get at us. Okay, this part's really weird. Most intentionally set home structure fires, which is very specific, are set in the afternoon and evening hours between 3 p.m. and midnight. So serial arsonists, not early risers.
No, they like to operate at also the peak times of internet use. It's like their version of downloading porn and jacking off. It's like always between the hours of 3 p.m. and midnight.
They also like to get a decent night's sleep.
Yes,
So,
I get that.
home by midnight.
In bed by
Yeah, they have
12:01.
curfew. Many serial arsonists are disgruntled or frustrated firefighters.
Oh my God.
We know one of those.
They know how to start a fire, and they know what they look for.
Fair.
Right. Especially volunteer fighter fighters.
No.
Oh my God.
No.
Kyle.
Maybe we shouldn't have invited Kyle over only to get him to bring us McDonald's like all those times.
While most arsonists do it out of revenge.
Oh no!
Yeah.
We've created an actual monster.
There's actually a specific FBI profile of the serial arsonist firefighter.
Uh-huh.
So it gets like more specific than just a serial arsonist.
Uh-huh.
And it includes somebody with daddy issues.
Oh, no.
And an overprotective mother.
Oh my God, lock Kenyon up. Lock her up immediately. Check.
Yeah.
We are
And
at
check.
risk. My last fun fact is that a lot of arsonists are actually arrested in hospital emergency rooms because they have become victims of their own crimes.
Oh my God, that is that's like the icing on it.
So that's a little warm up for arson.
Love it.
Love it.
Kenyon, your background was super perfect for this first actual, detailed crime that we're going to go into. There are a lot of arsonists out there. It was kind of hard to narrow it down to one, but this guy's given nickname is what sealed the deal for me. So my person is John Pillow Pyro Orr.
Oh my God.
His name is John Orr, and they named him the Pillow Pyro.
Oh my God.
Is this the guy on Forensic Files?
Yes, there's an amazing Forensic Files episode. I actually, after this little segment, I have listed all the media that you can find about this case because it was super famous. So there's a lot of fun ways that you can kind of dive a little bit deeper into it, but I'll get you started. So this guy was active in the 80s primarily, but into the early 90s as well. He tried to be a cop in LA, but failed. Wah, wah. And after failing, he joined the Glendale, California Fire Department as an arson investigator.
No.
Yep, he was hired as an arson investigator. His coworkers thought he was like an overenthusiastic weirdo, kind of, because he had a tendency to chase down burglars and shoplifters in his fire truck and like try to go apprehend them.
What part of the country was this?
This is in California.
Okay.
So he clearly was still kind of holding on to that, tried to be a cop, but it didn't really work out. Now I have a fire truck, but I'm still going to try to apprehend criminals by chasing them in my car.
I'm picturing Kyle doing this.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I feel
absolutely.
like Kyle absolutely would do this. His colleagues always thought he was kind of a strange dude, but they also always admired his dedication and uncanny ability to be the first firefighter on the scene. Spidey senses for fires. Very curious.
Wow.
Yep. He always knew where all the fire hydrants were, what the most efficient ways were to put out the fires, and how to weirdly find the cause of the fires. So his colleagues kind of assumed he was just super gifted and never suspected that he could actually be who they themselves had dubbed the Pillow Pyro.
Why pillow?
So here's the nickname origin. Perfect question, because I've got it for you right here. So the origin of the nickname actually comes from the incendiary device that he would make for all of his fires. Now, this guy was known for having lit upwards of 2,000 fires around the California area. Yeah, 2,000. So, like, how diligent is this fire department? Where,
oh my God, they must be exhausted.
I mean, they must be, but at the same time, it's like, bro, you are the first one on the scene for this many fires.
2,000.
Like,
That's like every day.
Once.
Every day for how many years?
I mean, it was like a 10 to 12 year span of him lighting these fires, so he spread them out. His nickname came from the incendiary device that he used at all of his fires. So they collected, obviously, like thousands of these because he had lit so many fucking fires. And he consistently used this little jerry-rigged device of a lit cigarette attached to a book of matches, wrapped in paper with like cotton bedding, and then secured with a rubber band. So if you go to the blog, I have a picture of an actual evidence photo of one of his incendiary devices, and I also grabbed a screenshot from the episode of Forensic Files of their like recreation of the lit incendiary device. So you could kind of see
I love
what
those.
it looks like.
Their recreations are
Oh,
so
the reenactments are
So
the best.
perfect.
If you have ever been in a Forensic Files reenactment, please contact us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Please.
We will roll out the red
For
carpet
you.
for you.
We have a segment for you. So the structure of this device, how it works, the cigarette burns down slowly so that he basically has time to secure it somewhere, light the cigarette, and then walk away. Because a cigarette, when you're not smoking it, it's got to take like a good 10 minutes to burn all the way down, at least. Obviously, then that would light the matches, which would ignite the little pillow.
Okay.
So as I said before, he was suspected to have started upwards of 2,000 fires while working with the fire department. So again, shoddy,
Oh my God.
shoddy police work on the part of the Glendale Fire Department. He went completely undetected and, quite the opposite, was like revered by his colleagues for being so amazing at his job as an arson inspector.
See, I would be that shifty-eyed colleague that works with him that's like, wait
You
a
would
second.
suspect him because you have a brain in your head.
Because I'm suspicious
Everyone.
of literally
It's for the
everyone.
best.
Everyone. In our last episode, you said that your dad might be a
Yeah,
serial
you did.
killer.
You did say that.
Yeah. Exhibit A.
So none of his fires ever killed anyone until 1984.
Oh, God.
When he lit a local hardware store on fire and killed 4 people, including, this is where it's not super fun, including a 2-year-old child and the child's grandmother.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh my God.
And 2 of the store employees. Super, super sad. I mean, if you really want to just ruin your day, you can listen to some interviews with like the child's other grandparent, just so devastated. It's really tragic. And this guy is a complete piece of shit. And he worked on the investigation for that fire as the arson inspector.
Asshole.
Yeah, of his own fire that killed 4 people.
What a piece.
And kind of made shit up about how the fire was started. He made up some shit about how somebody maybe lit like a patio furniture cushion and that's where it started. Bunch of crap.
Okay.
Oh, because that's a departure
Exactly.
from what actually happened.
He swapped one pillow for another.
I mean, if it's a hardware store, like usually a hardware store, you're in and out unless you're working there. So how were these people trapped inside the store by the fire? Do you know?
I dally
Yeah,
in
I'm not
hardware
100%
store,
sure, but
personally.
I mean, again, he comes in, he lights it. It may take a while for you to notice that this fire has started, and depending on where you are in the store,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming there were a lot more than 4 people in the store, so most people got out.
Yeah, especially if it's like a big one, like Home
Right.
Depot. That's technically a hardware
It wasn't
store.
a big. It wasn't
I
a big
love
one. This is
Home
a local
Depot.
hardware store.
Me
But if
too.
you're, in the back corner, and you don't notice the
Yeah,
smoke,
okay.
and then the other people have gotten out, and you're confused, and it becomes dark. And I mean, obviously, they could have been
Okay.
killed by smoke inhalation before the flames even got to them. You never know. There's all
Okay.
kinds of factors.
That's
Yeah.
usually what
so,
happens.
but that is worth looking
Yeah.
into for sure.
Yeah.
So, question: before this, was he just a third-degree arsonist? Second, was he only burning abandoned or empty
I don't
buildings?
think he was only burning unoccupied or abandoned buildings. I think he was. Which degree is that?
I think he did some first degree. I'm
Yeah.
remembering this Forensic Files episode
He
vaguely.
lit a bunch of places on fire, and again, I'm not 100% sure because
But people just like
right,
weren't
I
home.
wasn't aware of the degrees until we started talking about it in this episode, so I don't feel like I'm an expert in diagnosing him, but I can pretty much guarantee that this guy who lit over 2,000 fires was not only focusing. Oh, in fact, I know that because there were other fires in little stores. He liked to go to like craft stores and shit, now that I think about it, to light fires. So he definitely was lighting in occupied spaces and like businesses.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Michaels's and stuff.
I mean, go burn down Hobby Lobby, but leave Michaels alone.
yeah.
Leave Michaels alone.
You leave Michaels alone.
The newest social justice campaign from the people who brought you free Brian Hathaway comes leave Michaels alone. Believe it or not, this actually gets more ridiculous. So 3 years after this, he's not caught. He is not caught for this crime. 3 years later, he attends an arson investigators conference in Bakersfield, California.
Jesus Christ.
Where, weird, several suspicious fires break out.
Oh my God.
During the conference?
Did he light the conference on fire?
Suspicious fires within the building that housed the conference. So I'm assuming it was like in a hotel.
Right.
But at the location of one of these fires that he set, investigators did find a single fingerprint on a piece of paper, which is
nice.
Again, if you watch this Forensic Files episode, they talk about this. It's extraordinarily rare for them to find a fingerprint from a fire, let alone a fingerprint that they can actually collect and compare against other fingerprints. Now,
I guess they have 2,000 other opportunities to do this, like 1 out of 2,000.
Yeah, I mean, there it is. That's literally 1 out of 2,000 they found any kind of forensic evidence. But
I'm just surprised he hadn't burnt all his fingerprints off.
I know. Well,
like his fingers.
His old reliable pillow kept him from really being anywhere close to these flames. It's just like using a lighter to light a candle, which I burn myself doing stupid shit like that all the time. But he clearly was an expert. So they get this single fingerprint, but they cross-check it. He's never been convicted of any crime, so he's not in any kind of database. So it goes basically into an evidence locker and is forgotten about. 2 years after that, so it's now 1989, to give you a timeline, at another conference for arson investigators. God. Yeah, for real. Surprise.
How many conferences do they have?
I'm assuming there's probably one every year or so in this profession.
There's a fucking conference for everything.
Everything. Yeah. There's a conference for making robots that you can have sex with.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, I mean, this doesn't surprise me nearly as much as that. So, again, he's at another conference, and weirdly, a bunch more fires break out. This was some clever investigating. Investigators compared the attendees list from the conference in 1987, my birth year, to the conference in 1989, and identified 10 people who had attended both. So they narrowed down the search by quite a lot. They still had the fingerprint, and they collected evidence from these 10 people and matched it to Joseph Pillow Pyro Orr.
So they compelled him to give his fingerprint, or he didn't know that they had a fingerprint?
No, I think after they had a fingerprint from one of the fires at the last conference, and then they narrowed down to those 10 people. I'm assuming they collected some forensic evidence from each of the 10 people and then cross-checked that against the fingerprint. And they matched it.
No, if they don't have a warrant,
sure,
you can say, no, I don't want to give you my fingerprints.
Of course.
And they can't force you until they get a warrant.
Right.
He must have
willingly, thinking,
I seem to remember they gathered the other fingerprints surreptitiously.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
So...
so by process of elimination, maybe? Okay. So he was finally arrested in 1991. And after his arrest, investigators found among the tools he used to make his pillows a manuscript he had written called Point of Origin, describing a fireman who was an arsonist. So he had written a book. He had written his own novel about a fireman, who was an arsonist.
Oh my God.
So later in his trial, his literary aspirations became some pretty damning evidence. And I have a quote. From his book to give you a little bit of a taste of what he was going for in this manuscript. Main character is Aaron. To Aaron, the smoke was beautiful, causing his heart rate to quicken and his breath to come in shallow gasps. He was trying to control his outward appearance and look normal to anyone around him. He relaxed and partially stroked his erection watching the fire. So he clearly had a sexual reaction to lighting these fires.
Was he planning on sending this to Simon and Schuster or something?
I have no idea. I think he was going to self-publish. Not bother.
Was it handwritten in a ratty
Probably.
notebook? Please say yes.
15 ratty notebooks. So he was later sentenced. He was sentenced to life in prison plus 20 years for all of the other arson. The court
Life in prison for the terrible writing and 20 years for the arson.
and no punishment for murdering 4 people at the hardware store.
They're like, eh.
They tried to bring down the death penalty on him, but I'm assuming, I mean, it was petitioned. I can only assume by like him being a member of the fire department and probably having some sort of positive impact on his community.
I think he lost that.
I don't know
card.
Because
you lose that, but I'm a firefighter.
I know, but they did not sentence him to death. So
fires.
clearly something worked because they just sentenced him to life in prison. He does not ever have a possibility of parole. He is classified as a mass murderer, even though he only killed 4 people. But I mean, he's fucking
more than 3. Any more than 3? Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that the threshold?
I think 3 is the threshold.
3 or 4?
I think 3. Anything more than 3. So I guess 4 would be the lowest to make you mass. But if you want to learn more about Orr, here are all the stories in the media that are about him. First off, true crime writer Joseph Wambaugh, who I saw on that Forensic Files episode. We need to get him on the show.
Wambaugh?
He seems amazing. Yeah, Wambaugh. I don't know. He's a true crime writer, and he wrote a book called Fire Lover about John. The PBS science series Nova did an episode on him called Hunt for the Serial Arsonist. It aired in 1995. Cold Case Files on A&E did an episode on him called Diary of a Serial Arsonist.
Oh. Nice.
There is a Forensic Files episode that we've referenced several times called Point of Origin. And my personal favorite, which I haven't watched yet, but I'm totally watching it this weekend, is a made-for-TV film on HBO from 2002 called Point of Origin, starring Ray Liotta as John Orr.
I'm watching that.
So that is your assignment. You have to watch Point of Origin, HBO 2002, Ray Liotta. Let's do this.
I love Ray Liotta.
Me too.
Fantastic.
Lots of pictures of this guy on the blog, and by lots, I mean I found like 4 that were usable.
Nice.
So go check it out. He seems like he looks like everybody's dad from the 80s. It's weird. Like again, all these criminals I could just totally see bumping into them at the grocery store.
Why do all dads from the 80s look the same and also look like serial killers?
Like a pedophile or a serial killer.
I wouldn't know.
Oh my god.
Oh, here we
Again,
go.
daddy issues.
Oh, Lord. All right, Lucy, take it away.
All right, so I'm going to be talking about I'm taking 4 shallow dives into a couple of into 4 crimes, I guess.
Cool.
A smorgasbord.
Yeah.
It's a charcuterie plate of crimes.
It's a chef's sampler.
And perfect because our wine goes with strong cheeses and red meats.
I'm going to start with one that's pretty close to home, literally. Corey...
Is it fucking Wisconsin again?
No, it's Charles City, Iowa.
I think this is the first episode where we're not talking a lot about Wisconsin. Right. Granted, it's our 2nd episode, so I mean, that doesn't count for much.
We have no one from Wisconsin and no one from Iowa, or Russia.
Oh.
One person from Iowa.
All right, we're off to a good start. Let's mix it up.
Okay, so this one's real fucked up. And this is from the town that my husband is from. In 2003, a guy named Chris North killed his friend Jason Capping by stabbing him 11 times and then cutting off his head and then lighting the house on fire to try to cover it up.
What?
So this happened. It's a pretty small town.
Does
So
Does
this
stabbing
is where,
someone 11 times classify them as that weird word for like people who stab so many times?
Picantism? Picarism?
Yeah,
picantism.
Pecan Sandyism.
Oh, I love Sandies.
I do
They're
too.
so good. Keebler elfism. Not to make light of this, because it was actually a really big issue. Okay. Anyway, so he killed him, cut his head off, and then lit the house on fire to try to cover it up, presumably. So this is where the facts end and the speculation begins that they had a sexual relationship from one party to another, not clear what it was, but that was the result. So
it went wrong and then shit went down?
It went wrong either that day or, like, later. I don't know. This is
Okay.
all speculation. And I'm only mentioning this because it was a big deal in Charles City, which is a town close to my heart, and this is also not the only crime. And that's actually all the information I have about it.
Whoa, they didn't really report too deeply.
But the killer's father went to prison for manufacturing meth, so he probably didn't have the best upbringing either.
Yeah, and doesn't that fall within some of our parameters, like a rocky childhood, substance abuse, mental illness, not feeling comfortable with your sexual identity or any other kind of deep shame that you're dealing with?
Yep.
It's so crazy how cookie cutter these people start to seem when you actually know some of the triggers.
Just follow the pattern.
Yeah.
We're basically psychologists now.
Yep, we are. Hire us.
Listeners, send us a degree if you work at a medical university.
Mm-hmm.
We've obviously earned it. Okay, moving on to the next crime. Okay, so I found this creep named Julio Gonzalez.
Oh, he came up in my research too. I almost called Julio Gonzalez as mine, so I'm so glad you're covering this guy.
He's fucked up. Okay, so he was a Cuban immigrant who moved to New York City in 1980 during this huge surge of Cuban immigrants coming into the country. And when he got to New York City, he met a woman named Lydia Feliciano. Mm-hmm. They dated for about 10 years, like a significant period of time. After they broke up, he lost his job and he had a drinking problem. And she was working as a coat check girl at a place called at a place in the Bronx called Happy Land Social Club.
Yep. We need to go. Road trip.
It definitely does not still exist.
Oh. I get it now.
So this Happy Land Social Club was an illegal club for reasons not made immediately clear in my research, but probably just because it wasn't a sanctioned social club.
Oh, it might be like some weird space that was used for raves and shit like that. But then why would that have a coat check? That seems like really well put together.
Hey, they're
Was
discerning.
this like the 70s?
80s.
Okay.
Late 80s.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, one night he came in totally drunk and was harassing Lydia and threatening her, so she finally got him kicked out by one of the bouncers. He
Good girl.
left, bought $1 worth of gasoline at a nearby gas station.
Hey, in the 80s, that could have been a lot of gas.
I mean, it
That
was
could have been
enough.
like 2 gallons of gas.
Well, he went back to the club, doused the only entrance. Obviously, this was an illegal club. Only entrance to the club, and lit a match.
Oh my God.
The creepiest part about this is that the whole fucking place went up in flames so quickly that people did not have a chance to even try to escape.
No.
And investigators found people, like, frozen in time, like Pompeii style.
What?
Oh,
Like,
They were like mummified by the ashes almost?
they weren't mummified, but like they found their bodies like where like they were not trying to escape. That's how
Wow.
quickly
They
this went
weren't. They
up in
weren't
flames.
all like huddled.
No,
by
they
the
were like
exit. They
flash
spread
burned.
out.
Correct.
That is crazy.
Right.
Oh, what a dick.
I know. So
So was it just because he didn't have a history of setting fires? It was just because he was rejected by this girl?
right. Yeah. Not that they know of. He only lit one fire that they know of.
Fucking
Yep.
patriarchy.
So this is one of those like
Patriarchy.
reactionary, random, retaliatory fires, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. One of those
Because he's a
misogynist
youth.
fires.
Yeah.
Misogynist fires.
So the ironic part was that Lydia was one of 6 survivors out of 87 deaths.
Wait,
Well,
so he
6
didn't-
survivors and 87 deaths.
So he didn't even kill the like ex-girlfriend / fiance that he had set the fire to kill?
Yeah. And he very well may not have been caught if she hadn't survived, because she told the investigators what happened literally 10 minutes before the place went up in flames.
Oh my God.
So they went to go find him, and he was so drunk, probably, that he didn't even try to get rid of the evidence. They found his gasoline-soaked clothes in his apartment.
Wow.
Because he's apparently...
He had one job.
He had one job.
I can't believe he killed 87 people and the person he tried to kill wasn't one of them.
Right.
That's insane to me. Ugh.
It's even more insane to me that this club that housed like 200 people at least only had one exit.
Well, it was an illegal club. It's not a real club.
Right.
I know,
We've
but like...
been to parties
Oh, yeah. I
like
mean,
that.
that could easily be one of the reasons why the club was illegal, because it didn't have proper, fire code procedure in place.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It
sure
was
enough...
probably tiny. There were probably only supposed to be 15 people in there.
No, and I mean, I work in the
probably.
service industry, so, like, I manage a restaurant. People always fucking scoff when you talk about how certain rules need to be enforced because of fire code. I'm going to use this exact example. People always scoff at it, and then it's like, next thing you know, you're literally in a fucking tinderbox with 87 of your closest friends because, you were not adhering to fire code.
Flash burned.
That'll go over great.
I really think my guests will really appreciate
Let me sit down and tell you.
Scooch
about
over.
fire codes.
How's your burger
I got
this
a story
evening?
for
Also,
you.
let's talk about why fire code is important, okay? I know you want to squeeze 18 people at this table that only seats 4, but I'm going to tell you a little story. I think it'll work. I really think it'll work.
There's this guy, Julio Gonzalez.
Have you heard the name Julio Gonzalez? I didn't think so. Let's talk about it.
So, okay, here's one part that I thought was a little bit weird. He was found guilty of 174 charges of murder, which was 2 for each victim.
Oh, wow.
Don't really know how.
Were they all
So
pregnant?
your notes
I don't
explicitly
know.
say he got charged with 2 counts of murder per victim.
But again, this is from Murderpedia.
Okay, so he maybe got 1 count of murder and 1 count of like first-degree arson per person.
Right.
They're both
both
They're both felonies,
so
and
that would make
first-degree
sense.
arson also means that you like killed someone, right? Or that the space was occupied or something.
That the space was occupied, not necessarily.
Yeah,
that
so
you
I
killed
bet
someone,
that's
but,
what
yeah,
I bet
that
that's
you
what they
could've.
meant. They got 2 felonies per.
Okay, that makes a
does
lot
make
more sense.
It makes us
Okay.
sound less stupid.
Okay.
We figured it out.
Yeah,
We
sorry,
worked it
don't
out.
worry about it.
But listeners, if
Yeah,
we're wrong,
which we almost certainly are. We are not
we're
experts.
definitely wrong.
We're not experts, just fans.
So there's another fire that I've got 2 more. We can't talk about arson without talking about the Hartford Circus fire, which is
Yes.
the one of the worst fire disasters in U.S. history.
Yep.
Have you guys heard about this before?
No.
I have heard about this before because I am from West Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh shit!
Originally.
Yup.
We
So this
converted
is-
her. She's a Minnesota
Yeah, they did.
girl
I
at
moved here
heart.
when I was like barely human.
Were you
so,
there
But I was
in 1944?
no. No, I wasn't. But I was born at Hartford Hospital.
Does this
so I was
explain
probably
your
born
horrific
like.
scarring?
I mean, wait. We've already shared host bio photos, so people know I'm not like completely disfigured.
I don't know. It's
Your bio
covered up.
photo is tiny. Yeah.
I hate you guys.
Really pixelated. I don't know.
Send nudes.
Don't you have a
Send
case to
nudes.
talk about?
Okay, so this fire happened on July 6, 1944 in Hartford, Connecticut, aka Amanda's hometown.
Birthtown, whoop whoop.
This was during a performance of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus that was attended by between 6,000 and 8,000 people.
Wow.
And there was a fire that broke out, not surprisingly, because this big top that they were using, which housed up to 9,000 people, was like finished or dipped or dyed in paraffin and then tempered
What?
by gasoline.
Are you kidding me?
And they did this pretty commonly because it's a waterproof measure.
Oh, okay.
But it's also really fucking flammable.
Yeah, let's make this super flammable and also water resistant.
Right. Right. Right.
Seems like a good combo.
And
of things.
so 168 people died and more than 700 were injured.
And if all of them were clowns, I don't feel bad about that at all.
Well,
Not even a little bit.
The clowns can go to Hobby Lobby.
they
Thousands of clowns killed in a horrific fire.
They call it the day the
Rejoice.
clowns cried or something like that.
What?
Seriously.
That is... I fucking hate clowns. Clowns are the worst. And I know down the road there's gonna be like a killer clown episode, and I'm gonna need not only alcohol but like muscle relaxants for the entire thing because I'm gonna be so upset.
So you can have some of mine.
Well, for that episode, there is a Jerry Lewis film called The Day the Clown Cried, which is about this fire.
Oh my god.
And the reason it's brought up is because it is alleged that it was a case of arson.
No way.
Yeah, there's a man named Robert Dale CG, which is the name of one of my friends. So, he claims on that day, when he was about 14 years old, he had a nightmare in which an Indian, aka Native American, riding on a flaming horse, told him to set fires. And then he blacked out and didn't come to until this fire in the circus tent was already going.
What?
So it was night before. It lined up timing wise.
Yeah,
or he was
I got,
blacked
like,
out for like a week.
He didn't confess till 6 years later. So all he said was that he had these visions of a Native American on a horse telling him to start fires, and he did. And then all of a sudden, the circus that he was at, I guess, caught fire.
If I did everything that a dream Native American on a horse told me to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's like every dream I ever have, but it's not a Native American on a horse. It's Cher from the Half-Breed video. Telling me to do things. And when Cher tells you to do things, you fucking do them.
Yeah.
Without question.
How high? Yeah.
When Cher says jump, you say how high. Oh.
I'm going to continue because my main crime is up next. My final crime.
Okay.
So this was committed by a man, nay, Peter Dinsdale, who later changed his name to Bruce Lee.
No. Why? Because he's a fan?
It's because so this happened before he was caught for anything. He was born Peter Dinsdale. He's from Manchester, England. And when he was about 19 years old, his mother, who was a prostitute, remarried a guy whose last name was Lee. And as you will discover, Peter Dinsdale's kind of fucked up. And he really liked Bruce Lee, and his mom married a guy named Lee, so he changed his name to Bruce Lee.
Oh,
okay. It all makes sense. I totally follow. Continue.
It was an homage to Bruce Lee. Okay, so as I said, born in Manchester, son of a prostitute, which, by the way, there's a photo that I put of Manchester in the 1960s, and you can see how horribly depressing that shithole was.
Yep.
Just a derelict town.
It's fucking awful.
Oh,
so he
sad.
was born.
Can I just interject one thing? Of
course.
Because people are going to give us shit about using the word prostitute, but if you have an issue with it, we can talk about it offline because I've researched it for 10 years. So some people identify as sex workers, but not all people who sell sex commercially identify as sex workers. Some actually do identify as prostitutes. Continue.
Okay.
Kenyon's drunk.
Good disclaimer. Use that degree, girl. Use that degree.
All right. Born in Manchester, son of a self-respecting, independent sex worker, he claimed that he was bullied from a young age because he had epilepsy and also had something called spastic hermiplegia, which gave him a limp.
Okay, so he's fitting like all the parts right now.
Just wait. So he had this physical condition that made him like cross one of his arms over his chest, and he had like a deformed hand, and he attended a bunch of special schools for handicapped children, and that's when they say he was first exposed to, like, homosexual interactions.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god, he is ticking every box.
Every single box.
I told you guys.
This is crazy.
So he was really kind of fucked up, didn't have the most privileged childhood, and even as an adult, when he was working as a laborer, he was known around town as Daft Peter.
It's Daft Bruce, you assholes.
But he wasn't Bruce Lee yet, was he?
He wasn't, no. But I'm gonna call him Peter Bruce, or PB, through the rest of this story. So around the time that his mother married this guy named Lee, and he changed his name, which was 1979, when BP was about 19 years old.
BP.
There was a fire.
Bruce Peter, okay.
That's kind of known, it's kind of popularized as the Selby Street Fire in a town called East Riding of Yorkshire.
The English are fucking weird.
Does England have such fucked up, like, townships?
I don't know. I didn't really pay
so
any attention
long.
to it until Harry Potter came into my life, which, yeah, I'm going to mention Harry Potter in every episode, so just get used to it right now.
We know.
I hate you guys.
Patriarchy and Harry Potter.
Keywords. We need to add those to the SoundCloud keywords so that people
Taking
can
a tally of how many times we shout patriarchy in every episode.
That's how many shots we have to do at the end.
Okay, so around this time, there was a fire known as the Selby Street Fire, and where a woman named Mrs. Hasty and her 4 sons, aged 8 to 15, were sleeping peacefully.
Oh.
She also had 3 daughters that were out of the house that night, and a husband who happened to be in prison. Lucky him.
Yeah, he was in the right place at the right time.
Right.
That'll show him.
Well, he was actually released from prison, like, the next day, just out of sympathy. They were like, oh my God. So anyway, not to give it away, their house, fire broke out in their house.
Yeah.
And so Charles, which was one of the older boys, 15 years old, pushed his mother out of an upstairs window, which saved her life.
Oh.
But by opening the window, he created a draft that just exacerbated the rest of the fire.
Oh, God.
Which basically ended up killing his 3 brothers.
Oh, my God.
So-
Did he survive?
He was trying to save his other brothers. It was the youngest brother that survived.
Oh, okay.
So
Shit.
Charles, the one who opened the window, and 2 of his other brothers died.
Oh.
So
Man.
the cops thought that there was something a little suspicious about this, and they're questioning the neighbors.
Yep.
And all the neighbors were like, well, we don't really care. Like, that family was kind of dirty. They were problematic. Like, they were trashy. We don't care.
Oh.
God
So-
damn it.
People are vile.
And the investigators, this kind of came to a head at the joint funeral for all 3 of the boys.
Oh.
And where all the townspeople were like, whatever. And the investigators were there, and they're like, well, this is kind of fucking weird. By the way, that joint funeral was followed by a joint grave. All 3 of them were buried in the same grave.
No.
Yeah.
I want to be buried.
doesn't
I want to be
bother me.
buried on top of both of you. Let it be known. Let it be known.
I call middle.
Yeah, you're the sandwich.
Nuh-uh.
Yep.
I'm a snuggler. I call
No,
middle.
you're on
No,
the bottom.
I already called
we
it.
both want to just crush you for all of
I'm
eternity.
bottom, bitch.
You're bottom, bitch.
So after the investigators were at the funeral and they thought that something was kind of amiss, they started to ask some teenagers in the neighborhood to volunteer to be interviewed to see what they say about this family, to try to find out who the arsonist would have been, because by then they're kind of thinking that this arsonist must have had a motive.
Sure.
It might have been a grudge thing.
Right.
The investigators started interviewing all these people, and for whatever reason, PB, Peter Bruce, volunteered himself to be interviewed by the cops.
Oh, dear.
And he held it down for about 6 months. This investigation took forever, so they regularly interviewed these people for 6 months, and eventually PB confessed to the fire, saying that
Wow.
it was revenge against Charles, the older son, because there was
Shit.
some kind of sexual contact, not clear what it
Oh.
was. I know.
Oh my God.
So there was sexual contact, I presume, between PB directed towards Charles, because then Charles was 15 years old at the time, and he tried to extort money from PB because PB was 19, not a minor.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, and then on top of that, one of the daughters, 16-year-old daughter, Angelina, was one of the daughters who wasn't home when this fire broke out. And PB was infatuated with her, totally in love with her. And
his sister? Oh, no, sorry, I got confused.
Charles's
Never
sister.
mind.
Got it. Charles's sister, Angelina. Peter Bruce had a crush on Angelina and apparently also her brother, Charles. And they think that she was actually the target of this fire because he started the fire towards the back of the house where her room was. So a lot of this family kind of gave him shit because he had such a crush on Angelina, but she wasn't responding, and she thought he was a fucking creep because he had a crippled hand and an arm, and he was stupid and, like, whatever.
Sad. She should have just been nice to him, and then maybe he wouldn't have, like...
She was 16 years old. No one's nice when they're 16.
Do not victim blame Angelina. You take that back.
Well, Angelina's not the only victim here. PB's a victim.
Yeah. Angelina wasn't an actual victim. All her brothers died, but that's it.
Yeah. Okay,
she wasn't even there.
Fine. Never mind.
She wasn't even there.
Okay. Yeah. Her entire family's set ablaze, but it's saying no thing. She's fine. Okay,
I'm not saying, oh, she should have just made out with him because then he would have gone away.
Just jerk
I'm saying
him off
don't make fun of a
deal?
handicapped person for their handicap and then be expected to not have something bad happen as a result.
Right. Well, you could be elected president.
Yeah, you fucking couldn't you?
All right, we're going on a tangent because this is totally not the main point of this story.
Right.
So he confesses to this fire and then subsequently confesses to 9 other fatal fires over the past 7 years.
So he's killed upwards of 10 people now at this point.
Yeah. So
and never been caught for any of them.
Correct. So this fire was how he got caught, but then it comes out in the end that he's been having these episodes since he was 12 years old.
What?
He was setting fires using paraffin and matches.
Oh, so he learned from the tent incident in Hartford in the 40s how to make an incendiary device.
Yep. So he killed 15 people by the time he was 19, and his youngest victim was 6 months old.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And a dozen more victims were burned or otherwise severely injured. So those are just the people that he killed, but he affected like a shit ton of people.
Oh, for sure.
Like Angelina. Go on.
Oh, God. Hashtag free
you can leave
Angelina.
if you're going to be bitter about Angelina the rest of the time.
I really am.
I know.
His MO, he would dump paraffin in through like an open window or like a mailbox or somewhere, or he would enter the house and dump paraffin around and then light it because paraffin's super flammable.
Flammable, yeah.
What a fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So here's one of my favorite parts, which I feel
oh
weird
my
saying.
God.
So one of his victims was this elderly man who slapped Peter Bruce for disturbing some pigeons on his property. So Peter Bruce he said, "I'm gonna kill you." And then later he came back and he wrung the necks of all the pigeons in the yard. And
How did he catch them all? That's amazing. How did he catch all those things?
I know.
That is amazing.
Deformity.
So he killed all the pigeons, and then he broke into the old man's house, dumped paraffin on his sleeping body as he was sleeping in an armchair, and then lit him on fire.
Oh, God.
So that was one.
That is so graphic. Over some fucking pigeons?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, the guy slapped him.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair enough.
Right.
He for sure killed 15 people. But he actually pled guilty to 26 counts of manslaughter, and that included a fire at a retirement home that killed 11 guys between the age of 65 and 95. But that Fire was later proven to be caused by the boiler. So it was later overturned on appeal, although PB never actually denied starting that fire. So I kind of think he did. He just ended up getting away with it, but he's still serving a life sentence in a psych ward. So
or
whatever.
was he potentially taking credit for fires that he didn't start?
Yeah.
On top of the ones he did, because he was just like wanting the cred.
More fame.
Right.
Yeah.
After he told the investigators that he did the Selby Street fire,
Yep.
they thought, and he was like, oh, and then I did these other 10 fires or whatever. And so they got suspicious. So they drove him around town, and he pointed out all these places where he started fires. And then they, to kind of verify what he was saying, they drove out to a place where there was a really notorious fire, but that they hadn't solved, but that the public kind of knew about. And they were like, so what about this one? And he goes, no, I've never been out here. Oh. So they really do think that he was telling the truth about the fires that he started.
Okay.
So I'm kind of thinking that he did kill 26 people.
Oh, I don't necessarily doubt that. I'm just curious.
Yeah. It probably also happened to have had a shitty boiler, but he could have still started it.
And yeah, maybe
That's
he
true.
found out somehow that the boiler was faulty and exploited that to create some sort of fire.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was his job? Did he have a job?
He was a general laborer.
Well,
so
there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so what also leads me to believe that he probably did start that fire is he once boasted that his goal was to break the Guinness Book World Record for serial killers, like number of murders.
Wait, there's a Guinness World Record for that?
There has to be a recorded record.
Yeah, but why
it's
would they
huge.
put that? Like, I'm imagining the book that you can get now for the Guinness World Record that's like all glossy and has like a hologram on the front of it. And it's like most jump rope skipped.
Longest fingernails.
People murdered.
World's
longest fingernail.
largest ball of twine.
Yeah.
Built by one man.
I don't know. This had Guinness Book quoted, like it was in the quote, but I don't know. Maybe it's not.
You'd also have to set some pretty strict parameters because, like, terrorist acts,
Right.
You kill a lot of people, and like the Oklahoma City bombing or 9/11 or whatever.
But that doesn't
A
classify
lot of
you as a
those
serial
people died
killer.
from-
You're a mass
right.
murderer
like,
at that
shouldn't
point.
count. Right, exactly.
Well, this just goes to show kind of how big of an idiot he was, because he's a fucking idiot.
Ugh.
One of his quotes was, "I am devoted to fire. Fire is my master, and that's why I cause these fires."
Oh my god.
Did he write the foreword of that other guy's book?
Fire lover.
Clearly.
Did he
So
stroke his erection while watching the flames?
Probably. He thought Angelina was in that fire. He definitely did. I just want to read this quick, funny line from Murderpedia, since we were talking about how, like, inappropriate and unreliable it is. I had to laugh at this.
It has a lot of stuff on it, though, that can be corroborated. Just saying.
Yeah.
It can, but, like, the phrasing is
It's
entirely
it's
inappropriate.
so terribly written. So terribly written.
So here's a line from Murderpedia about our friend PB.
Okay.
About 18,000 people were questioned during the investigation of the fire until one of the victims was discovered to have been acquainted with various homosexuals who frequented the public restrooms near his home.
This is written by, like, an angry mom with an I want to speak to a manager haircut. I can picture her chunky highlights so clearly.
Chunky highlights.
Dabbling with
Her readers.
homosexuals, and that's why he became an arsonist, because homos are sinners.
I can see her
Now
reading
get me
glasses.
a box for my salad.
Her frameless
I want
reading
croutons
glasses.
on the side.
I said ranch and croutons on the side. I can't eat this. Make a new one.
Do you fucking speak English?
This is
Habla
America.
Espanol.
Listeners, if you exhibit any one of these traits, stop listening.
Yeah, unsubscribe.
Now. Oh my god. All right, well, that's it for me.
Well, I can round this out with a joke. A sadist, a masochist, a murderer, a necrophile, a zoophile, and a pyromaniac are all sitting on a bench in a mental institution.
Obvious.
Oh my god.
Let's have sex with a cat, asked the zoophile. Let's have sex with the cat and then torture it, says the sadist. Let's have sex with the cat, torture it, and then kill it, shouted the murderer.
Why a cat?
Lucy, it's gonna be okay. Let's have sex with the cat, torture it, kill it, and then have sex with it again, said the necrophile. Let's have sex with the cat, torture it, kill it, have sex with it again, and then burn it, said the pyromaniac. There was silence, and then the masochist said, meow. Get it?
That's so fucking
Get it?
I just wet a little bit.
I know, I have to pee so bad.
Okay, so this was the second episode of Wine and Crime. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Special thanks this week goes out to our 2 Patreon supporters. Zach Cohen, who just happens to be my fiance, but that's totally not why he
Oh,
donated.
yeah.
Hashtag propose Dan
Post.
and become a donor.
Donate Dan.
And our other actual, legit, none of us know this person in real life, Patreon supporter, Anna Exiga. I don't know if I said your name right, but you're amazing.
We love you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Our cover art is by Kali Yip. Music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell. Sound mixing by Dan Larson. Be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod. All Wine and Crime episodes are available on SoundCloud. For more episodes and info, visit our website at wineandcrimepodcast.com. Until next week, keep it creepy.